What's up, everybody? Hey, another edition of Out of the Blind podcast. This is Gabe Spencer. We're back. You know, we've been hitting these kind of sporadic. Unfortunately, you know, I've been getting some hate mail, and I'm not real proud of it, but kind of is what it is. But I'm back. We're back. We're gonna lock down a couple more episodes here. It's been going crazy. I've been with work and everything. It's just I haven't had a ton of time to jump on these podcasts between the media company, roofing, everything in between. We've just been slammed, and you know, duck season. I'm going to touch base a little bit on that, but it was a rough one for me. And anyway, so yeah, it's awesome. It's I think February. What is it? 6th? 7th. February 7th. And Mother Nature's been moody here in Texas. We've been all over the map, but I've been all over the map and the global map. But I've got a great guest on here. Been on here before. Introduced Trey Spillers again with Raining Red out of DFW area. So welcome to the show again, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
It's awesome, dude. So Trey and I, we've been on some adventures together in the past, right? If you guys have listened to the podcast, you've heard about the Apache Indians. You've heard about the mystical flight of the JFK Arrow. That's you. And we've had other stuff happen too, but so I want to touch base first before I really get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast episode. Trey, you hunt all things, of course, but you've been doing some epic hunts lately. So you've been doing, you finished up, you did, of course, I'm sure you did some whitetail, some regular stuff here in the United States, but then you went to Greenland.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And you were after muskox.
Yep.
Right? And you succeeded.
Yeah. So we went to Greenland for our archery muskox hunt, and we flew to Denmark, and you have to fly over Greenland to get to Denmark. I don't know why they didn't just drop us off, but they didn't. And then we were actually managed to tag out early there and managed to get a caribou while we were there as well. So we checked the muskox box.
What made you want to hunt that critter of all critters? I call it like the dingleberry cow.
Circling back, I said in the beginning episode with Raining Red, I just started this personal quest to check the North American Super 10, and muskox and bison are in the same family, and the muskox just prehistoric looking, and I picked the muskox over the bison, and Greenland was the place to go. So buddy Trey Sparring with Neil and Brownlee was like, hey guys, we booked this hunt. And
so that still counts towards the Super 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So Greenland's part of North America, but controlled by Denmark. So.
Right, cool. Yeah, I that was a cool hunt. I got to see some photos and stuff of that, and it sounds like you guys had a pretty crazy experience there. Because you guys don't. The one thing that sticks out in my brain, and I didn't ask a lot of questions on purpose because I kind of want to save it for this.
Right.
You know, and one of the things I saw is you guys, the one thing you told me is like you didn't go, like you just got to where you're going to go and you had to cross this lake.
Right.
But that's sailing.
That is sailing, even though it was a homemade wooden John boat with a Evinrude 15 on it. And they were like, we're going to sail this lake. And I was like, well, I don't see a sailboat. I mean, we're gonna motorboat this bitch. Is what happened.
Right. Just motorboating son of a bitch. Well, right. So you guys got over there. How long were you out in actually at camp for these things? So there's 3 of you guys, right?
Yeah, 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah,
cool.
So we stayed in a drop camp tents for 5 days, and we stayed on the edge of the lake. And the hunting day basically consisted of getting up and hiking out. One day we put in 14 miles. It wasn't the steepest terrain, but it was definitely a lot of walking, and it's a lot of shin oak. So with every step, it kind of felt like somebody's tugging at your feet. So it was strenuous in a way, but Justin and Jody both managed to get a muskox. Another buddy that met us there, Mario, got his, and I was fortunate to take mine with a bow. We set out that day to go and get mine, and we came across him, and we were on top of a ridge, and my first shot was at 83 yards, and it was all I had, and I let it rip and managed to get one center body, and he kind of ran up the ridge, and I didn't know what else to do except go after him. So I was chasing that big hairy bastard across top of the ridge, just flinging arrows. I shot till he dropped. I put 3 arrows in him, and the guide was like, Justin and them were kind of laughing. They got back there. they're like, the guys started laughing, and we're like, what? And he's like, I never seen anybody chase one with their bow. And I guess you hear about them turning on, but I'm like, shit, I seen a guy kill one with a spear. I'm going after him with my bow. Like,
how thick is the hair on those critters? I mean,
it's thick. I mean,
do they sting?
I mean, they smell like livestock. I mean, they smell like wild game.
I figure that much hair.
They're not like a wild boar. They don't stink like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're definitely a lot of hair. The hair on his back's 12, 14, 15 inches long, and
wow,
I don't know, on his sides maybe 6, 7, 8 inches. Just
That's
they're
cool.
definitely thick hide. But
I mean, pretty hard to get up on that animal to like get in within bow range.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, the way they traverse the mountainside there, I mean, is to keep the ridge in between me and him and stay on the low side of it, and and then crest up and be in position to put the first arrow in him. But when I shot him, it wasn't like a whitetail. They don't just run and run and run. They kind of run and turn around to make a stand at what has threatened them. And so
they're aggressive.
I kind of found him eye to eye with me on the second shot, and eye to eye with me again on the third shot, where they're almost in a standing to charge position. Like
will they charge you?
He's hurting. He's got blood dripping out of his nose. I've made a good shot on him, but just as big as they are, I'm like, I need to put another arrow in him. And I've seen videos of him charging. This one, he didn't necessarily charge me, but in the moment, it's going through your head. I mean, he's standing there, kind of stomping the ground and staring at you, and it's I guess. And
you're like, it was at this point. I fucked up.
Yeah, so the muskox in Greenland, there's not a lot of a predator, so they don't really have a lot of things that are after them. So I think they kind of dominate those grounds. So when he's standing there wounded and he's hurt, he's like, man, I'm not running from this guy. I don't know what he is. I'm gonna charge him. And so, but then you put a second arrow in them, and they're hurt even more. Or a third.
Or fourth.
After the third, I was knocking a fourth, but he finally fell over. Thank God.
Like damn porcupine by the time you're done with it.
I was gonna run out of arrows if that's what had to happen, but anyways. So that was it. We had to quarter him up and pack him out about 6 miles back to base camp. And then, we were able to add on caribou while we were there, and Justin and I set out on, I'd say it was a pretty epic day. It was raining. And we came up on the first caribou, a nice one, especially for the country we're in. And Justin managed to, get a shot on his and put him down. And we got him caped and quartered and still had some daylight. And they were like, well, let's go see if we can find another one. And so we hiked up another mountain and down the backside of it and up and over another one. And there was another old mature bull. And I borrowed Justin's rifle on that one, and I managed to get it shot. So Justin and I both, we went there for muskox and both came home with our caribou boxes checked as well on the Super 10. So
that's cool. You didn't get to bring that meat back, did you?
No, we ate a bunch of it in camp. So.
Yeah,
and then
caribou's awesome.
Yeah, they donate it to the Inuits there. I mean, just sweet. Trying to import it back to Denmark, and then from Denmark to the States.
They don't let you bring meat back to the United States. I learned that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute, but they don't. I can't bring exotic meats back.
Yeah,
which hurt my feelings.
I think on the muskox we could have brought what's equivalent to about 15 pounds, but
it's not enough.
No, we probably ate that much there. Justin and Jody took over the kitchen one day and showed those guys how to do some southern chicken fry.
Nice.
I don't think they've ever had chicken fried muskox, but we did, and
they liked that.
It was good. Man,
I guarantee it was good. There's not a lot of proteins I've found that I don't like. Here I go. I get wrapped up on food really fast.
Yeah.
But no, man. I noticed that trip that you guys did, and that was awesome. But kind of the meat and potatoes of kind of one I wanted to get you on this podcast is you and I just got back from Tajikistan.
Barely.
We
barely got back, but here we are.
So kind of give you guys just an overview of what Trey and I just really experienced together. It was he hit me up about a year ago. I guess it's probably a year ago. He told me, hey, Justin and I are going to go to Tajikistan for a mid-Asian Ibex. I'm like, okay, cool. Where the hell is that, and what kind of critter is that? So I looked it up. Well, if you look at where Tajikistan is on a map, it is on the border of Afghanistan. It's part of Middle Asia. It's at the end of the rope, as far as like end of the trail. It's on like the old Silk Road. If you guys know any history stuff, it is a very remote, extremely remote area that most people don't even go to. They just opened this country up in the late 90s for people to get back to, for like, I don't know if you'd call it tourism.
Yeah, they were in a civil war in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Like 91 to like 93 or 94. Not 100% of the timeline I know in 91
right.
it started, but.
Yeah. And so did a little bit of training. I wasn't as good a shape as I thought I was going to be in. I don't think any of us were. We didn't know we were up against. But, it was definitely a trip, I would call it.
100%.
It was odd, and it was exciting. It was odd. It was dangerous. It was like you pick an emotion. I think I experienced it the whole time.
Yeah.
It was absolutely freaking sane. And everybody has asked me since I've been back, hey, glad you made it back. I'm glad I made it back too.
It
was sketchy.
There's those moments during the trip where you're just like, God, what the hell did Justin,
I asked
and you're
a lot.
like, Trey, what in the did you sign me up for? And
yeah, I put in my 2 weeks notice.
But you get back and you sit here today, and then you ask yourself this though, like, would you trade any part of that trip to have missed it?
No
way.
And I'd go back.
Yeah,
I would. And you remember you said on the mountain, you're like, I was like, I'm never coming back to this.
Yeah, I said, I'm going to have to come back for Uriel. And you're like, find a new cameraman.
I'm never coming back. But, I would go back.
Those guys over there were.
I would go back.
Yeah.
I would go back.
Yeah.
It was a trip, and it started off, just kind of walk you guys through this thing. We left DFW, just kind of like touch on a little bit of the progress to get to this place. Guys, it was first, just out of DFW, it was a 14-hour flight, right? 14 hours?
11 or
it was longer than that, dude.
I think
it was longer than 11.
I think it was 11 and a half there. And
I think it was 18
13
hours.
and a half back. 18, 14, 18.
It was a long ways.
flight.
And I was stuck. I didn't get to sit next to Trey and Justin. I got sit next to these larger gentlemen. I was in the middle seat, so I was hung up. It was the most uncomfortable place I've ever been. The guy on the left farted on me the whole time.
It's supposed to be a hunting trip, not a skiing trip.
Yeah, it was like a skiing trip. And this guy, and then they turned out to be really cool. I got to talk with them for a little while, and so it was cool. But we went from DFW to Istanbul, Turkey, and then we got delayed there because we missed our flight.
Yeah, well, we were a little over an hour behind pushing back in DFW.
Right.
So as we landed, our Dushanbe flight was leaving.
And they only fly into this place twice a week.
Yeah.
Wednesday and Friday, right?
Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. There's like 3 flights a week. So we were just stuck in the middle.
So we're stuck. So we got to go to Istanbul, Turkey. We hung out in Istanbul, Turkey for 3 days, right?
Yeah, which, great. I mean, again, with, Trey Sperring and the guys at Neal and Brownlee, we miss our flight. We're stuck in Turkey, and we get a message like, sit tight, hang out at the service desk, and we'll have one of our contacts there to pick you up and help you with everything.
And they did more than help.
Yeah, they pushed us through security. They made sure our bags were all together. They were held in a safe spot. We had rifles there that had to be, their security procedures for them holding them at the airport. And then these guys, they pick us up and tour us around Turkey. I mean,
it was sick.
I mean, we were seeing like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th century stuff. And
it was unbelievable. That was one of my most favorite parts of the entire journey, was that all that stuff in Turkey, and with the guide and the food and the freaking history stuff.
Lamb, cow brain, cow tongue, cheek. This guy knew where everything was at. Everything.
I could have spent a week on one street, I think, just eating my ass through there.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot of the reason we didn't get around in the Tajikistan mountains.
I'm going to blame it on a lot of that. Is that baklava?
It's Arda's fault.
Is Arda.
Damn
that
Arda.
Dude. I'm telling you.
He knows how to eat, though.
Dude, I'm telling you. Yeah, he does.
He'd fit in down here.
Yeah, 100%. But, one thing, too, is everybody was concerned about, like, the people there, like, our safety because of the people and what us guys here in the, I would call it Westerners, us guys in the United States, people in the United States, what's been portrayed of these people over. And I just kind of want to put that out there, that it's nothing like what we have been told.
You can't wrap your head around it. Trey told us before we leave, he said, one thing you need to remember when you're over there is that these guys would risk their lives for you to be successful and to keep you safe, because you're going to have the challenge of a language barrier. You're not going to be able to communicate with them. You just have to know that they got your back. And I have zero doubt that they have our back. They'll have the next guy's back that's there. But
it wasn't just our guides. It was like everybody is from in Turkey. Every person we met, every person I didn't get, because starting off in Istanbul, it's primarily a Muslim country, right? I was a little bit nervous about that.
Yeah.
My perceptions of what that was all being from, I would say Texas in the South is, it's always been like, those people are bad, and they're not. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I was completely in the wrong on what I thought of that whole place, because, my whole outlook on all of it's different.
Our tour guide was Muslim in faith, and he broke down. He said, a lot of people think that, and he said, but at the end of the day, our beliefs are simple: love everybody, treat everybody with kindness. There's only one God.
Yeah.
But there's many messengers. And I'm like, well, that don't sound too different from what the Southern Baptist preacher in the piney woods of Louisiana taught me as a kid growing up.
No.
We've been told that. Love the neighbor, and there's only one God, and Jesus is one of our messengers, and it's just, anyways,
It's different.
It's not, and it's not.
It's different, and it's not different. Like, it's weird to explain, but and I'm not trying to get to, normally this podcast talk about funny crap and whatever, but this is a part, like, I really wanted to put out there. It was like, I always kind of looked at people here that were from there out of the corner of my eye. And I'm never going to do that again.
Right.
Ever. Because those people were the nicest people, more nice than some of the people I've met in Texas.
I've met some assholes in Texas, but especially
I think
on the
people
interstate.
are people. I really think people are people, and it's like, I think you've got bad ones and good ones no matter where you go, but those people over there were awesome. And what's crazy, and this is what blew my absolute mind, is that there was 21 million people? 20 million?
Just in Istanbul.
Just in Istanbul?
Yeah.
Right? That's more people than the entire state of Texas combined.
Yeah.
In one city. I don't remember seeing a piece of trash.
No.
Not a bottle cap. Nothing.
Yeah.
There was just loose cats everywhere.
Yeah, definitely that.
There's cats, just random cats. And I'm a cat guy. I'm not gonna lie, I like cats a little bit. But these cats, they're just feral cats, but they're cool. They come up and say hi, I guess.
Yeah.
But
my uncle had like 100 and something cats that lived in his barn in Delhi, Louisiana, and he'd say, I'm the only damn cat house in North Louisiana don't make no money.
Right. Well, they got a cat house in freaking Istanbul, Turkey.
That's a whole cat city.
It's a city. But it was cool. And so from there, once we finished that up, we jumped on that plane and went to Dushanbe.
Right.
Then the sketch started.
Yeah, the minute we strapped up in that Nissan Patrol and turbo grabbed a gear.
It was before that. I'm going to rewind you. Okay. It was before this. So this is where, like, I love to tell stuff about Turkey, and I was like, oh man, this is all cool. And then we grabbed a gear and we went, oh, you guys want to go faster? Because once that aircraft, that 777, one was the landing that we did, was like a military approach landing where we had to go from 30,000 feet to freaking the landing strip in like 3 minutes.
In a circle.
Yeah. And it was banked all the way down. I was like they're going to shoot missiles at us.
Yeah.
That was different, right? It's 3 a.m. We get there. They kick our asses out on the tarmac. And then this bus rolls up that looks like they're like a POW camp bus with these big Russian dudes with the big hats.
Yeah.
They're yelling at me in freaking whatever. I don't know what they're speaking yet. And I shuffle onto this bus with all my gear. They drive me 150 yards.
And then kick us off.
And kick me off again. I don't know what's going on. Then they shuffle me. Then they take my passport, take it. Right? And then this airport looks like it just been bombed yesterday by a freaking Tomahawk.
Right.
There's ceiling tiles falling in. The place smelled like cat piss.
Yep.
There's these dudes with Russian hats on, and they all look aggressive. They all look like, if I was going to tell you, hey, If you could just tell me one thing, what they look like, I would tell you it looked like the movie Taken. And the guys that take the girl, that's what they all look like.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that.
And they had the Russian hats on. They took her shit. And then things got a little, it was just sketchy. I felt really sketched out in the beginning.
Yeah, and they call it the CIP hall, but it's like basically a VIP hall. And we were in the VIP hall.
What's the other place look like?
I don't know.
It's worse.
It has to be.
It's worse.
But fortunately, there's a little breath of fresh air. Latifah started talking to us in English.
Yes. It was like an angel came down.
And she was like, "You're with us.
From the Tajikistan mountains.
Do y'all want some chai?" And
then the chai started. The chai didn't start yet. So we get, and I'm recollecting on this stuff. Because as a camera guy and a guy that's trying to document this trip for you, I am trying to remember shit to talk about right now.
Right.
And I'm going, I got to remember this. I got to remember, this. And so we get Turbo.
Yeah.
Right? The reason why do they call him Turbo? I'll let you explain. This cat. Explain to them. I'll let you explain to them what this guy looks like. Description of Turbo.
Turbo? Tall. Dark. I'm gonna say handsome, but I think Turbo is.
He's killed people.
Man,
100%.
There's something with him that is like, dude, we got pulled over 3 times leaving, and
he's got a certain set of skills.
He has something
because this dude super nice, right?
Yeah,
nice. He
bought us Kit Kats and Cokes.
Bought us Kit Kats. He got us random snacks on the side of the road.
Yeah,
right. But so he takes off. I'm gonna say. Well, what he was running 90 on there. At first, I thought it was miles per hour because I saw it said 130.
Yeah,
but it was kilometers.
Yep,
rolling out. It's 3 a.m.
Hence Turbo.
He hauls ass.
He knows like 5th gear only. 5th gear.
Yeah, he's got on and off.
Yeah,
stop and go.
That's it.
Fast, right? Hauls ass. We drive through the night for 4 hours.
All through the night.
So yeah, we drove all through the night. We go through these small villages. We go through these little places. Can't see a lot because it's dark.
We stopped to get gas.
Stopped to get gas one time.
That's where we found the first like legit shithole.
No, we stopped one time before it got Cokes.
Right.
We got the Cokes. Everything. But what's different? Everything sweet tastes like an imposter there.
Yeah. No high fructose corn syrup in that part of the country. So.
Right. So everything tastes a little different. Not bad, different.
Right.
So then we go through these villages, and then we had to get what you were going into. We had to get the gasoline stop. Okay, we stop, guys. I'm going to tell you when we pull over. This isn't like we're stopping at any convenience store. Think of this. I want you guys to reminisce, all of you right now. Close your eyes unless you're driving, and think about the sketchiest gas station you've ever been to. All right, light that on fire. Throw that away because this is 100 times sketchier than that.
Like a block/wooden shack with a speakeasy window.
And
I never saw the person in there that took his money. It was just like dark, not a light on.
Yeah, it was like a shadow figure. Yeah. They had a gas pump out front. And then Justin asks for a bathroom.
Yeah.
All right. Then
that's when they led us around back.
They took us around the back. It's icing, it's snow, it's cold, it's dark, it's sketchy already. I don't know where I'm at. I've got GoPro always rolling, right? So I've got the GoPro. Justin goes to this bathroom. I just see him go into a building. I don't notice or pay attention to what is going on. I hear him make some noises. I don't know if it was a scream or a laugh or a screaming laugh or it was frightened or he was laughing. I don't know yet. But he tells me, be careful. Okay?
Yeah.
So I instantly am intrigued.
You could fucking fall in.
I was intrigued at first. So I go there. I thought it was the metal plank that you had to walk out on.
That was frozen in ice.
It was frozen in ice. I thought that's what he was talking about. And he said, no, wait a minute. And I peeked around the corner. And when I peeked around this corner, there is I'm going to say a 6 foot, 8 foot by 8 foot square room.
Yeah.
Just a room, concrete.
Yeah.
Or
and
mud.
It had a concrete floor in it.
Concrete floor. It was elevated, concrete floor.
They jackhammered it.
Yeah, and it had a slit cut in the floor that was about 8 inches wide by about 12 inches or 14 inches long.
Yeah, just like they jackhammered a
on the side of the hole was I would call it, I thought it was an urn. It wasn't an urn, but it was full of ash. It was a little brass bucket.
Yeah.
Full of ash.
Yeah, right there in the
that
room.
was where they were going to the potty. Right? They had the potty. They were making them 1s and 2s in that.
It's crazy
and
too, because
3s.
I shine my light in that hole because it's a concrete foundation, but it's suspended like 12 foot off the ground, and there's literally like a pile of shit at the bottom of it.
Yeah. I didn't look that far. I did take a picture peeing in the hole. You can see stream going into the hole. I had to.
So what was in that bucket though?
So I contemplated this a lot. I had a lot of time to be with myself and my thoughts.
We were wondering if it was like...
No, it's ashes, and what's in the ash is lye.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So they dumped that on the Duke down at the bottom of that ravine.
To neutralize the smell.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We're not sure.
It didn't work. I mean, that thing's...
It looked like someone had been
death.
murdered over the top of that crack. Right? Because it was stained.
It reminded me of bear bait at the Apache
It was worse
place.
than bear bait.
Ooh.
It was in the same level anyway.
Yeah.
But this bathroom, I was laughing so hard I had tears in my eyes. But here's the deal: I wanted to document it more, but when I turned around, I think Turbo was coming. I don't know these people yet, and this is their culture, and I don't want to be laughing.
Right.
Right. We're in the middle of nowhere. He could cut me.
Yeah.
No one's coming for me. That thought went through my mind a lot.
Yeah.
There's no one going to save me.
The language barrier.
Everybody sounds so aggressive.
You get a lot. They're so direct. Like, I never know if they're fighting or just having a normal conversation.
I don't understand.
And their conversations aren't like mine and yours. Like, you talked, and then when you quit, I started talking.
Right.
They talk at the same time.
You said at one point they
There's
talk
two
and listen at the
conversations
same
at
time.
once, just like that.
They talk and listen at the same time.
100%.
That's what it was. It's the craziest thing.
They have two conversations going at the same time. Two different subjects.
Maybe more than that.
But just between the two of them. They're both talking nonstop. I was like, man, are they like mad?
I thought they're going to fight.
Yeah, and evidently it's just, I don't know, it's just what they do.
And guys, we hadn't even made it to camp yet.
Oh, no.
Then the next adventure is just to get from that shitter to the base camp.
Yeah.
Right? To main camp. And it's a sporty ass ride. And we are going up the spine of this mountain, and it's dirt. And we got a guy named Turbo that only knows one gear.
We're doing 50, 60 miles an hour.
At least. In the snow.
Drifting around the edges of snowbanks.
What's the dude's name that just died?
Oh, Ken Block?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's related.
Yeah.
Turbo's related to this guy.
Nissan, he drives a patrol like that. I mean, we literally...
Nissan Patrol. That's what it's called.
Nissan Patrol. Yeah. But he would just downshift and then grab another gear and just slide around
I was
the
scared
snowbanks.
to death. I was scared.
There's me, you, Justin, Latifah, Turbo, and the other hunter whose gear showed up late. We got all this gear just piled in this thing. Y'all got backpacks and stuff in your laps, and this guy is just sliding these snowbanks on this 9-foot wide road.
It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
We get up to camp, and we go through those big gates that had the Marco Polo and the freaking Marcor and all the shit up there, right?
Yeah.
We go through those. It's just like some statues. We go through this big gate. We get to this. It was pretty nice. I would say it's pretty nice. Lodge, right? And in the lodge, we've got like one room where we eat, which you eat on the floor. But they have a little small table, but you sit on the floor.
Slightly elevated.
Slightly elevated. You can put your legs underneath it. With an assortment of snacks. Candy, some fruit. Pistachios, honey. Remember all this stuff there? And then and then naan.
Oh, I remember.
The bread that comes out in these big sheets.
Yep.
And they would give you that. And so we would eat breakfast or lunch or dinner there every night. And then they gave us our room. There was all three of us in one room, 2 beds. I was on the floor. And it was like some really ornate carvings. Would you call it carvings? Like ornate, like architecture?
Yeah, all the
gold
moldings and stuff on
molding,
the ceiling.
like chandelier.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yep.
Everything was frozen. So it was so cold, all the water was frozen, so we didn't have no working toilets or showers or anything.
Yeah. I think the water lines were frozen because they surface mount them to the exterior wall. But
Right. Imagine that.
we won't get into construction flaws.
And then they had a big, they had a kitchen house, and then they had a pen full of pigeons. Not sure what that was about. Never asked them. Should have. Which it come to learn to find out there's a 9-foot cobra that lives underneath that, but it's wintertime, so he doesn't come out. Did you know that?
No.
There was a 9-foot cobra that lives under that, and Latifah was telling me that he comes out, and she shows me what he does with his head.
Oh my God.
He comes out. They don't mess with him, but he comes out and then he hisses at them.
I ain't messing with a 3-foot cobra, much less a 9-foot.
9-foot cobra comes out, and then they had that big like out deck thing. It was like a big
that observatory.
You could see like the valleys and stuff down there. So we get there, we hang out there for a little bit. We eat a bunch, hang out, and then they take us down the mountain one day. Couldn't make it because it was impassable. We didn't have enough rangers, right?
Yeah, the river was frozen.
River was frozen.
Really
couldn't get the trucks
to go.
Right, and so then we came back, and then
it's a good thing too, because knowing what we know now, if we would have started walking from there, it would have been wee hours before we got to camp.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it was after lunch when we went out that day.
Yeah, it would have taken us forever. We took that shortcut. So we started hiking. We got to the hike. That first hike down the mountains, I was being a smart ass thing and telling people I could do this in my waders and whatever. Needless to say, that was not the case.
Tajikistan serves a lot of humble pie.
Serves a lot of whip ass.
Ooh.
That's what they eat there. Yeah, humble pie a lot.
Yeah.
But tell me what you think, what you felt about that whole. I know what I felt.
Yeah.
But what was your thoughts on that? On that first initial like descent off of the edge of that mountain, and when we got to those first rivers that were completely. Let me describe these rivers real quick. These rivers are, I would say, average of 40 to 80 feet wide. They're flowing really quick, but they're iced completely over. Some of the ice is 3 feet thick. Some of the ice is 6 inches thick. But it's rocking underneath it. But it's not very deep, at least not in most spots. It's like a Rocky Mountain creek, but it's moving, but it's completely frozen solid. And we've got to cross this in certain areas. Sometimes they break, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you fall through, sometimes you don't. But what was your thoughts on that, like crossing this stuff?
I mean, just that first hill we descended, it was a north-facing slope, and it was, the sun wasn't shining on it, so everything was just like frozen red dirt. I mean, it was slick as snot. We had no crampons. By the way, after I sent the message to Trey, and he said the first thing he did was went in their files and edited that list for that time of year to add crampons. But we got a text from the outfitter a couple days before we left that said, "Hey guys, everything's still on as planned, but we've had climate change like we've never seen before." So
coldest it's been since 2008.
Yeah, and just frozen. I mean, so if you're not walking on frozen ground, well, you were just walking on frozen ground
the whole time.
And so we started that descend, and it was slick as snot. We get to spots, and it's like, shit, we're gonna slide down this thing. And so, my initial thought was, shit, it's gonna be a long day. And so we got down the north slope, we hit the frozen river, we're still in frozen ground. Well, then we get to some south-facing slopes to start climbing, and I'm like, thank God the sun's shining on it. It's not ice. Well, just as bad, it was that slippery red mud.
Yeah, and I think it was worse.
And it made 27-pound hiking boots because it was just clumping up. And so I'm like, I thought that we had like came to something that was going to be like a little less dangerous and an easier traverse to get up, and it was just as hard. So we were I think
it was harder.
We were either in slick red mud that was like walking on oil on slick asphalt, or we were on frozen ice. So
I would have picked the ice and snow over the mud.
Oh, man.
Because I could get a foothold in the snow and ice.
Yeah, exactly.
That mud, I couldn't.
So, just to get to spot camp number 1, it took us 11 and a half hours?
Yeah.
And, we had to earn every single step. Yes, some were less strenuous. Walking flat on the river was less strenuous, but you fell, the ice broke, and you immediately were like, "Oh man, my back! Something's this isn't good." And you were wet from your knees down. Your boots are submerged at this point. Your feet are wet.
Yeah.
The water in your boots probably did not help those little toe warmer things you stuck to your feet.
No, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I got froze bad.
So, I mean, that was just some of it. They had a donkey. They were like, oh, we're like, great, he's going to be able to carry our gear. Well, he gets down the hill and hits the river and keeps slipping and falling and slipping and falling. He got cut. He could not walk the frozen river. So they're like, hey, we just got to take the gear off and carry it. And it's like, well, shit, there went that. So the donkey didn't make it very far.
No.
And that was just to get to the first spike camp, which was just a holdover to be able to continue the hike the next day to actually get into the hunting area where the Ibex were at.
Right. And
so it was like, we were excited that we made it, but we really hadn't even made it yet at that point.
No way.
So
when I get there, you guys got up there ahead of me a little bit. So because my feet were I literally thought I had frostbite.
Yeah.
My feet were, I'm a duck hunter. I've been in cold, lots of cold all over. I've never had my feet frozen like that. It was to a level I've never had them frozen. And every step was like lightning shooting up my freaking quads. And then they didn't have a headlamp. Only thing I had was my Phoenix. And I gave them my Phoenix. And then they put it on. They'd walk up 30 feet and then shine it back in my eyes. And then it was still sketchy. It was still sketchy the whole time. I'm like, shine it on the ground, but no one can understand you.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really see because now you're blinding me.
Like now I got all this freaking, I got
better off doing it in the
4,000 lumens in my eyeballs.
Yeah.
And, I know I've got a cliff to my left and I don't know what's to my right. And all I got is this little bit of snow in front of me. And it's just one thing after another. And by the time I got to the top of that and I saw that tent, I was so excited to see that. I was giving all those guys a hug. And one of the guys I gave a hug to, he was trying to take a leak, but I just spun him around anyway. The guy with the gold tooth.
Yeah.
I spun him around just dicking off. And I just gave him a hug. He was like, hey. And I gave him a hug.
Yeah,
it's like, whatever.
You're getting a hug.
I don't even care. He might have pissed on me.
Piss on my feet, they're called.
I don't even remember. He could have pissed on me. I don't know. I wouldn't have cared.
Man.
And it was like, that was just day one of that,
yeah.
So it was, bundle down, Cane sleeping bags. Huge shout out to them for making a badass sleeping bag. If you guys need a badass mountain bag, I highly suggest those guys check it out.
Yeah.
All their gear's sweet. It's awesome. They hooked us up on this hunt.
Their duffel bags are rock solid too. So.
Yeah. Everything, all that gear everything was really great that they provided with us. And so then we moved down to, we were going to take a shortcut on day 2 to get down to down into that valley. Yeah. And we went up one of those spines and down across, and then we ran across. That
ridge got narrower and narrower and narrower.
Literally, we were on less than 2 foot wide of spine.
I think the reason we decided to stop and take the long trip around is they had told us, hey, we're going to take this shortcut, and there's going to be a part to it when you get to it that we're going to have to like tie a rope to a couple of the guides, and we're going to have to use that to hold on because it's a frozen ice shelf and it's a really, really narrow trail with a drop off on the side. And so that sticks in our head, and we're on this ridge and it continues to narrow, and every step is like sketchier and sketchier.
We're on the very top.
And then
we're on the very peak of it.
And then we get to this tree, and there's 3-4 foot of snow on the north facing side of it, and they like walk out, one guy walks out around that tree and he's like stomping in the snow trying to like make a little trail, and it's like, man, dude, the sun's out, that could slough off. And so I think the reservation that built up in your head and mine as well is that, this has already been difficult just to get to here.
Right.
But this isn't the hard part. This
isn't
the dangerous part.
Right.
To them,
no one got ropes out yet.
Yeah.
AKA paracord.
So, yeah. Huge shout out to 550 paracord, by the way. Man.
Yeah, when they say ropes, I'm thinking climbing rope. No, they mean paracord. Bass Pro Shops. I saw the brand.
They don't sponsor me, but I will keep 20 foot of that in my bag for the rest of my life.
Always.
I should have it in my pocket right now.
I got some in my Mercy bag.
But we decided to, the best we could, communicate to them that, it really wasn't worth it with all of the gear we were having to carry and everything to push forward just to get to this super dangerous spot, especially when we knew there was a different way that would take a little bit longer, but it would be a little bit safer.
Right.
And so we elected to turn around and backtrack and take the longer route. I don't know what lied on the trail ahead if we would have kept pushing forward where we were at, and it doesn't really matter. Everything happened the way it was supposed to. You and I are sitting here today. We're having this conversation.
Right. Thank God.
100%.
Yeah. So we tracked back down that mountain 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Get to the second camp down that valley. And then that's when the action really started happening.
Well, Justin they had spotted Justin on Ibex. He went out. He kind of went the way we went on our secondary route, but he cut off and went up and over another ridge after an Ibex that they had spotted earlier that morning. And when we got down into the bottom, almost to the bottom of that valley, we were glassing, is when we heard the 3 shots ring out. Right. And Justin, shot the message on the Garmin Ibex down.
Yeah.
And so we push on. We get to camp. We eat dinner. We're laying there. We're asleep. We're going to bed. Everything's normal. And that's when, honestly, the biggest probably concern set in for me was when Justin got back to that camp. And in that moment, that raw, like, I'm happy to be here. Like, holy shit, is that English I hear? And he starts, like, you can just hear the fear in his voice as he recaps what he went through to get off of that hill. And I'm like, oh shit, like, we're in it now.
Yeah.
And,
he had fear in his eyes.
I say this 100 times. Every hunter says this that does these mountain hunts. So, like, mental fortitude. It's a big, big deal. You can train in the gym all day long, but you get in your head and that's when I think you really get hurt. And so, in that moment though, I'm like, shit, what did we sign up for? That's when I think the fear in Justin's voice, and you're talking about a man who just killed an Ibex and made it back to camp in the middle of the night. But just like hearing that fear in his voice, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't even started hunting yet. What I mean? So
it was real.
Yeah, it was real.
I could see it in his eyes. I could tell it. I could tell he got freaked out.
So anyways, we get up the next day and that starts, a hunting day for me. It's my birthday and I'm headed up the hill and,
they wouldn't let me go.
Yeah. At this point there's no toe holds. Everything's frozen. It's not cut. And, part of the translator and stuff, they're like, all the rangers really need to be focused on, like, helping Trey. Everybody at this point's a liability. And, we probably need to try and keep it, skinny. And, and after getting up there, just walking the little bitty cut trails to get to the camps, and as dangerous and as hard and difficult as those were. And then when they find an Ibex and they're like, well, we need to just go this way. It's the quickest. And you're like, well, go where? There's no trail. Oh, buddy, there don't got to be one. They just go. And we did. Y'all see me from camp. We literally took off up a 65-degree just rock, just slick, frozen ice rock. And we're headed just straight up it because that's the fastest way. And I got pretty excited. I'm like, I just got to get to the top of this. They're like, hey, if you can get up here and get into point 400 meters or 600 meters, are you going to shoot? And that's when I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to send it. Look, we're here now.
I guess I'm just going to fucking send it.
Yeah, I'm here now, and we're going to send it. Let's go do it. So we get all the way around, and we get into position, and the Ibex is bedded down, and I've got him in my spotter. And he's 910 yards, and a crosswind coming off of I think it's the Norak River is what they call it. And you had to be on the back side of this to be able to see what I could see. But there's a crosswind coming up the valley, and I'm on this ridge, and the Ibex is on the one across the valley from me, and I was contemplating, am I swinging at 910? And as the wind steadily picked up, I decided that it wasn't, I wasn't in a position to make that shot. And, you get drug up the side of that frozen rock, and you're in the rock slide, and there's no trails and there's no footholds, and you just beat the piss out of yourself trying to get into that position just to realize that you're too far still to make a swing. Again, I'm like, but this is it. This is hunting. This is Tajikistan. This is where we're at, and this is what it's going to take. And so the 22nd comes and goes, and the plan is to walk back to Camp 1 on the 23rd, back to base camp on the 24th, early morning drive back to Dushanbe on the 25th. And I got off the hill and I kind of rallied everybody outside the tent. I was like, guys, I can't leave tomorrow. Like if y'all, as hard as y'all work, I will work that hard, but I need one more day. And, they were like, well, what about getting back to camp? I said, I'll walk out of this son of a bitch in one day. I'll walk all the way, but we've got to hunt. And, to get some of the gear ahead, at that point we had ran out of food. So to get some gear ahead, they sent you and a couple of rangers back to Camp 1 while I was hunting that day. And, they took some of our gear. They took your gear, and there was supposed to be other rangers come and bring them food, and it never made it.
Nobody showed up. I ate a lot of fried noodles and chai.
Well,
it was okay. It was good.
I was at a point up there eating snow because I was out of water.
I ate lots of that.
These guys don't believe in water.
No.
So, they gave me one more day, and I'm very grateful for it because we were able to make it connect on that day. It made for a very, very long walkout for us.
Tell me more about, like, because I didn't ask you a ton. I was really saving it for this, but describe to me like on the way up that thing, like how'd the day start? So when you went up that thing, how did the day start?
So,
because I know where you were, and it was at the top of the world.
It felt like it for sure. So on the 23rd when we got up, some rangers went one way and they thought it would be best, and if we went ahead and started covering some ground. And so we started pushing further up the river from where camp was. And we probably went up river another half or 3/4 of a mile. And then they started kind of pointing and telling me they normally see a lot of Ibex in this area. And we needed to start gaining elevation. And we were at one of those points to where I was like, okay, but like, where do we start? And yeah, you guessed it, right fucking there, straight up, just roll. And it was that wet, slippery, red mud, and we start climbing it. And I knew that we were in some steep stuff because these guys get around, it's not even comparable how they get around compared to us, but when they're taking wooden sticks and digging toe holds in the edge of the dirt for themselves, I was like, oh God, so, we started climbing, and we kept pushing further and further away, and one of the rangers gets on top of the hill and they spot an Ibex, and they're able to radio in on a 2-way radio that they'd found one. The unfortunate thing is by now we'd pushed about 2 miles in the wrong direction.
Oh my gosh.
So we kind of, instead of climbing, up and to the right, so to speak, we just start climbing up and to the left to start getting back towards them. And we finally, made it to the top of that ridge. I think it took about 6 hours to get up the side of it. And so we got to the top of the ridge, and then we walked back down the ridge about an hour. And the Ibex, there was a mature Billy there and a ewe and a couple babies down in the bottom. And there was like a rock bluff and just kind of dropped straight off. And they were 250 yards down below, and they don't have a lot that hunts them up from above. So in that moment, we became the ultimate predator. We were above them; they never looked up. And
yeah.
I'm leaning over this rock, and it's covered in snow, and it's just a drop. And I start inching out because I can't quite get where I need to, and I inched out again. And in that moment, I felt some very stout arms and hands grab my legs.
Yeah,
and I knew that they had me. So I crawled out about another 6 inches and kind of dangling over the edge of the rock, and I was in the position I needed to be. And we turned broadside. I put the first one through the center of his body, and he spun to kind of go away from me, and I done racked it and stuck another one between his shoulder blades, and that was it. It was just, it all comes down to that moment. So I'm pretty sure we had a war party on top of the hill. Right. We immediately started a fire and started grilling testicles and liver.
How was that?
Pretty phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah. The grilled liver. I think we have no salt, pepper, nothing on it, and
eat meat.
It was good. It had a great flavor. And
how's the nuts?
They weren't bad. I mean, if you've had Rocky Mountain oysters, it tasted like that.
These were Tajikistan mountain oysters.
Yeah, and they were off of a goat instead of a cow. So they were. I mean, they were a little
goaty.
They were a little raunchy.
Yeah,
but they were good.
I saw they just stuck them on a stick like a hot dog.
They just had a twang. So, but
I'd eat them. I ain't scared. I was a little mad I didn't get to eat that.
Yeah, and then we and then I guess when you kill, they believe in like cooking some fresh meat on the hill and wait until the sun goes down. I guess they like the challenge of getting off the hill in the dark. So
yeah, because that's what you need, more challenge.
Yeah. So
they weren't in a hurry, were they?
No, not after that point. No. They were like, "Whew, our job's done."
Yeah, done.
But we returned to camp that night, and then as you know, the next day you waited on us and we walked out.
Yeah. It was a hell of a trip, and if one thing about this type of hunting, it's nothing like I've experienced. I've done elks, I've done hard hunts before, but this one was unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Yeah,
I wasn't even hunting; I was just a camera guy, and it was just as sporting. It was just as fun. I think I wish I could have went to some of those places that you guys had went to film it. Part of me wishes I did. Other part of me is like, oh, I'm glad I didn't.
Right.
But it was so like elevated in everything. Like every emotion you could have was elevated. Everything. It was all to that next degree of difficult level. And there's probably some sheep hunters and some guys out there that listen to this that can relate to this, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy. And I mean, if you had to kind of like sum it up to people that are going to do this, what is something that needs to go through their mind in order to accomplish it? Like when you're in a spot like that, to get yourself to push through,
you literally need to, and I'm quoting 1,000 people when I say this, but you literally need to mentally prepare yourself for the saying of get comfortable being uncomfortable, because you've got wet feet, it's cold, it's steep, it's slippery, you can get in your head, communication's an issue. I mean, there's just a lot of adversity there to overcome. And if you don't want to struggle that much, then they offer mid-Asian Ibex hunting the Pamir Mountains, and they do a lot of it from the road and vehicles, and and guys that hunted there are probably gonna be like, oh, fuck that guy, I killed a mid-Asian Ibex in the Pamirs and it wasn't easy. And I'm not saying that it was, but I'm saying that there's a lot more accessibility, a lot more driving, a lot more horseback, a lot more use of mules, and a lot less walking. But we had to earn every single mile of that by foot, and it was not just drive here and walk out on a ridge and shoot and hike down and retrieve and back. I mean, we had to literally we went down a hill, up a hill, down a hill, up a hill, up a river, down a hill, around a hill, a side hill. I mean, it just
wasn't hills. Wasn't hills.
Well,
I don't know what you climbed, but I didn't climb no damn hill.
Hills roll off easier than mountains. But I mean, yeah, the day that I killed my Ibex, I mean, I gained over 3,000 foot of elevation. I mean, that's a lot of height to climb when you're on a 45 to 70 degree slope most of the time.
That hike out of that valley was on my Garmin after I looked at it that day, quarter mile up that is what that was, from the base of that where you really start to climb to the very top of that peak, quarter mile, 3,000 feet, almost 3,000 feet in a quarter mile.
And it probably took 3 hours.
Took me 4.
Yeah.
Because I cried at part of the way.
Oh. There you go. So, that's the thing, is it's not like, oh, we covered 37 miles. I don't even want to describe that trip in miles. If you tell people, oh, it was only, 5 miles to camp, they're like, oh, 5 miles ain't shit. No, it's 14 hours to the second tent. It's 15 hours to the second tent.
Yeah.
You now, and I'm talking, and once you start walking, there's no turning back, there's no stopping. So
we never stopped. We stopped a little bit.
You got a 24-hour day, and you're going to burn up 18 hours of it getting to a tent to sleep on the hard, frozen fucking ground.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's just great to be there. It's like,
so glad
there's a roof over my head.
It was something. It was an experience of an absolute lifetime. yeah, there's not even really words to explain some of the stuff that what you see. We're making a complete film about it. We'll have that out in a month or so. But you'll be able to see that.
I'm thinking into my future schedule, and I'm just like, what do I have booked right now that is going to replace that? Because that right there holds a.
I don't think that there's something that replaces that. I think there's stuff that it's different.
I'm saying even just not necessarily replace it, but like even compete with it.
I don't even think that there's. It's just it's in its own element, like it's its own thing.
I have the Alaskan range in Alaska, or of course in Alaska, but I have the Alaskan range for Dall sheep later this fall. I've got a mountain lion hunt like somewhere right after the first of the year in Utah. I've got British Columbia coming up. We locked down for 2026 the Alaskan Peninsula for Yukon moose, and I've got Azerbaijan next year with Trey and with Neil and Brownlee for Tur. And
where is that, in Georgia?
Just past it.
Yeah.
So, I've got a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, man, I hope there's something in there that just like, that makes me feel as fulfilled experience-wise.
It will.
Because
it will for sure.
That Tajikistan experience, I encourage everybody to go do it. I'd train for it a little bit more than we did. So not because you can't do it if you're slightly unfit, because it would be more comfortable doing it if you were better fit. Like, would you agree?
100%.
Be more comfortable.
Yeah, work your legs.
You made it.
Out.
You were there. You did it. We did it. I didn't train. I let life get in the way.
I trained a little bit.
I didn't get on a treadmill one time. I didn't carry a pay. I didn't do anything. My legs did good the first few days, but boy, walking out, the lactic acid built up. It was rough. And so, I failed there. I could have been a little more comfortable on the trip if I would have trained, but at the end of the day too, it's hard to train for that shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing here that articulates your ankles the way that those.
Another thing I want to explain to these guys all do this in rubber boots from Walmart or from Dollar General.
They got different ankles than we do.
I'm not kidding you. They take their feet and they wrap them in t-shirt, and then they put them in these flimsy ass
oversized rubber boots,
and they use either masking tape or cellophane, like sandwich wrap cellophane around the top for a snow gator
to keep the snow from going in. Yeah. And
just absolutely walk past you with no trek poles, like just roll out. It was a trip.
It's just, I guess they're products of their raisings. They grew up in those hills, they farm in those hills, and they just, they're like part Ibex.
Yeah, for sure.
It's no joke the way they get around. Really, it makes you realize how soft you are. It's like, holy shit. Because I'm like, man, I think I'm pretty fucking tough. And I'm like, no, I ain't shit. Not compared to these Tajiks in the mountains.
No, not at all. It was definitely eye-opening. Everything from start to finish. But I'm thankful made it back in one piece. Everybody's asked me. I'm like, man, I'm just glad to make it back here.
Yeah. I was really envious that you got to leave on the original flight. So they didn't have enough time to because we didn't start walking out when we did, and it put us back in Dushanbe later. The taxidermist didn't have time. So when you hunt in Tajikistan, they have an export service where you can actually have the taxidermist boil your skull and salt cure your hide, roll it up, put it in a dry bag, and you check it on the airplane, and you roll right back into the United States with your trophy with you. And they didn't have enough time to do that, so you got put on the original flight, sent home a couple of days before us, and Justin and I had to hang back in Dushanbe and wait on the taxidermist to get done. So I was envious of that, especially when you sent the Whataburger picture.
That's the first thing I did.
I was like,
first thing I did.
As
soon as I got off the airplane, first place I went. Not yet. I want to sit down.
We did too. Justin was like, we're just going to have to eat in the hotel because my Uber Eats app isn't working. And I was like, well, you can eat here. I'm going to Whataburger. And he's like, well, how are you getting there? And I said, my Lyft driver's out front. And he was like, fuck yeah.
Dude, let's go. That's it.
Dude, we were ordering cinnamon rolls and cheeseburgers and everything.
It was great to be back.
I had enough goat and sheep to last me for a while.
So you said something up on that mountain. You were going to talk about it, you were going to talk about getting this tattooed on you after this. Tell me about that.
I don't even remember which one. I talked about so many. Well, I mean, one of them I said I was going to get Mama Didn't Raise No Bitch. No. But now I've kind of changed that to, I think I should get Weaker Than Some, Tougher Than Most.
Right.
Because I would consider myself now tougher than most. And after having the luxury of walking side by side with those guys and how hard they worked and how humbling it is to see how these guys are out there. My hands were freezing in gloves. They didn't even have gloves. So I definitely fall into a Weaker Than Some category, and I'm 100% okay with that. Those guys fucking earned the right to be tougher than me. 1,000%.
Yeah. 100%. I'm not a big glove guy. I had to shuck the gloves. I had one glove because I lost one. But
I think I was gripping my Trek pole so tight that the blood wouldn't flow into my fingers.
Probably.
And that's why they were getting so cold.
Probably.
So.
Well, it was an awesome experience. I thank you a ton for getting me on that. And
man, I'm glad you went.
It was so awesome.
I wouldn't trade it.
If you guys want to check this out, you get on Neil and Brownlee, right? Neil and Brownlee?
Yeah, Neil and Brownlee.
Check them. Throw them a plug there. Appreciate you guys for listening to this podcast. Thanks for Trey for jumping on this. Thank our sponsor, Back Down South Clothing Company. Make sure to check them out. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Check us out on the next one. We got more coming. It's off season. We're going to get back to duck hunting, get to talking about all kinds of stuff coming up. A lot of stuff on the plate. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Check us out on YouTube. You can also see Kimber Creek Media. We're going to have this film dropping in the next month or so. So you'll be able to see all about this. And thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.